Go.
Welcome to a bonus episode of Fools Rush In STFC podcast. Yes, second time we've got together this week means something must have happened, and something certainly has happened. The retain list is out, and the lads could not wait to talk about it. So before we delve straight in, let's say our hellos and welcome back, Wazza, to the podcast. How are you, buddy?
Very good, thank you, Fifey. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Always a pleasure to see you. To most of us, he's known as Mark, but to everyone else, he's now known as Chris. How are you, pal?
I'm very well, thank you, Fifey. I was going to ask you actually, where did the nickname Beef come from?
Where did you see that? Oh, on my Twitter hand.
On your Twitter profile, yeah.
It's a long story to do with my current place of employment. I'll tell you off there.
Okay.
It's not particularly funny. It's just long and tedious. 2 appearances in a week for young Craig. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm loving it, mate. Can't get enough of it.
Just can't get enough, as the hit song said. And I'm back by popular demand in the middle of my screen there. John is with us. How are you, pal?
All right, everyone. Evening.
Always a pleasure to have you with us as well, Ned.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And last but certainly not least, the media whore himself, BTB Ben. How are you, pal?
I'm all right, mate. How you doing, Stephen?
Very, very good. Some nice lighting behind you. Very professionally done.
That's all right. So my face is a bit dark, so I might have to move in a bit. But yeah, no, it's looking good.
Fools Rush In festivities continued. So last time we recorded, it was your birthday, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah, no,
and then we had a day off from recording so that Ned could have a wedding anniversary. And
Correct.
We're recording again, and young Rich is a year older, hence why he's not with us tonight. So from everyone at Fools Rush In, happy birthday, Rich.
Happy birthday, Rich.
Rich.
Happy birthday,
Spend
Rich.
that money, Rich.
Keep spending that money. All them
Definitely
shirts.
got birthday money, hasn't he, that boy?
He's in
Dread to
Dubai
think how
right
much
now.
he's getting in them cards.
Got you a second Ferrari, son.
Let's delve straight in then, guys. We're obviously recording because the retain list came out, and I've got it on the screen here to the left as well. So the official line is new contracts were offered to Baudry, Egbo, Parsons, Odemeo, Payne, Woolacott, and they remain in talks with Rob Hunt. Conroy, East, Idem, and Mitchell Lawson have all been released while they're keeping tabs, of course, on Jordan Lydon as he carries on his recovery, and all the loan players have gone back. Officially speaking, Aguiar, Calmedo, Gladwin, Yandolo, McCurdy, Minton, Reed, Ward, and Williams are all contracted for next season. So the question is, based on, I think it's what Woody put when it was officially announced in the WhatsApp group, we're effectively in a better position than last year because we've got more players contracted. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I mean, we could have had the same number of players, and the field wouldn't be anywhere near as macabre as the position we were last year. So, I mean, were there any surprises? I don't think so. I think we've spoken about this over the last few pods, and based on performances, etc. I think Baudry's earned the right to be given another year as an option. Conroy going, well, that I suppose you could take as being a little bit of a surprise. I thought maybe he played himself into winning a new deal and would be here, but obviously it would appear that his heart's maybe elsewhere. But no, certainly no surprises from my point of view.
Well, you certainly made a couple of interesting points. So let's jump in on them straight away and see what the rest of the guys think. So again, we have discussed it briefly over the last couple of pods. Warren, I'll start with you. Baudry, definitely probably our most consistent player over the last, 6, 7, 8 games. Earlier on in the season, everyone was saying, yeah, he definitely needs to retire. Now he's being offered a contract, and the big question that seems to be splitting everyone is, should he ride off into the sunset on a high, how everyone remembers him now, or do we risk a season where he's a year older, the legs perhaps go a little bit more? What do you think?
I think it's all down to the level that we're at. I think if we would have got promoted, I don't think he would have been offered a deal. And I think he would have used that as an excuse to leave and go.
Mhm.
He seems quite a driven professional that he probably maybe doesn't want to go out on a sort of a low feeling that I know we got to the playoffs, but we've lost. So the key for Baudry is to stay fit, I think. And if the club look after him like they were doing towards the end of this season, that if it was Saturday, Tuesday games, they were managing him well and maybe not playing him 2 games in 4 days, and they were looking after him. I think he's a solid centre half at this level. I think he's experienced. He's good on the ball. I know everyone used to say Conroy good on the ball, but I think Baudry was so much more composed sometimes than what Conroy was. I think they've left it in his court. I think that's what they've done. They've offered him the deal to say, look, Baudry, we'll have you for another year. And it's up to him now whether he decides that, like you say, whether he wants to go off into the sunset or whether he wants to go again for another season. I couldn't see any downside to him staying on. I think he would be an experienced head round the dressing room like he has been this season. And the players seem to look up to him and respect him from what you hear around the club. So it'll be in his court. If he decides to stay, all good. If not, I'm guessing there'll be some more options out there.
The other thing to consider as part of this, Craig, is obviously we don't know the intimate details of every person's contract, but another discussion point we had is perhaps he's looking at player coach terms.
But yeah, that'll be ideal for him, wouldn't it? I guess it's what what he wants to do. I mean, Warren made a good point there about his experience and that other players look up to him. For me, I mean, Christ, I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying this like a year ago, saying, I hope he does sign another year deal, because he's been immense the last 8 or 9 games. But I at the same time, I'm hoping for his sake that he ends on a high and does ride into the sunset, whether that's retiring or going to another club. Because he was basically a figure of ridicule, wasn't he? Up until recently, everyone was like saying that when he still had another season for this season, people were like, oh god, we've got Baudry again. How often is he going to play? And he was a liability at the back. Warren's saying about how composed he seems to be on the ball. Well, I haven't seen that previously, to be honest with you. It would be tragic, I think, from his view, if he starts next season and we see the old Baudry, and I'd rather he, go out on a high like he has done, and we remember him for the rock he's been, in our playoff push. So that's what I'd want for him. But obviously, it's what he wants. So if he decided to stay for another season, with Conroy gone, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy for him to stay, definitely.
Well, Ned, as Craig was kind of alluding to there, the flip side to the argument is realistically, we're probably going to want to go into the season with 4 centre-backs if we were to have an ideal squad size, okay? So if we've got Baudry there as, say, third choice, the experienced head, we've got the youngsters. Minton's the centre-back, isn't he? So we've got the experienced sort of veteran, we've got the young up-and-comer, and then we get 2 first choice. One's probably an on-loan Premier League or Championship defender, and then 1 permanent signing. That would leave us in good shape, wouldn't it?
It would, absolutely. What I would say with Baudry is that I think he's quite openly said that he's looking to go into a career of financial planning. So I think he's not going to be signing for us or anyone else. I think he's literally going to retire from football and go into his new career that he's been sort of progressing towards for quite a while, I understand. And I think as well, what's helped with these final few games of the season where he's looked so fantastic is I think he's sort of in a position where he knows that these is his final few games. He's relaxed. There's no pressure on him. He just wants to enjoy it before he sort of hangs up his boots. So I think, all these elements together has just sort of released him to be this wonderful centre back that he has been for these last sort of 6 or 8 games or whatever it is. So I think any thoughts of him signing a contract, I think are probably I don't suspect that they'll be fruitful in any capacity. But You're saying about the centre backs position. I think we really need to choose carefully with our centre back, because we need to. The one thing that I would say about Conroy is the fact that the one thing that sort of makes me think that this is what people had a gripe with him about is the fact that he was made captain and he's so quiet on the pitch. Every time the camera looks at him, there's no talking. So I think that for me just tells us that we need to have this, wonderful experienced head organizer at the back who's going to be the ever-present sort of thing, feature in in the game or in the changing room. I think, this is, for me, this is the biggest signing is, who we get is this number 5, or, the heart of the, the defense. I don't care if it's a ball playing defender. I just want him to be organized. I want him to win everything in the air. I want him to, just be that sort of the glue which holds everything together. But yeah, it's such a key, position to fill. And, we've got Odemeo as like a backup centre back as well. Who's going to be, featuring, I'm sure, on the left and the right as well at some points in the future. I think we're in good shape. I think we probably need 2 more centre backs, and yeah, we're in good shape. And I just really hope Ben Chorley plucks out one of his specials for centre back position.
Absolutely. John, let me bring you in at this stage. Are you Baudry in, or would you be happy to see sort of Baudry go at this stage?
It's a hard one. It depends who we've got lined up to bring in. Is he the easy option? We know what we're getting with him. I would give him 1 year if he was interested in playing for another season. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the last 6 games he was outstanding, but then he was playing with freedom. If he got injured, did it really matter to him? No. Obviously, it would have been hard for the team if he would have got injured in those last games. But I would give him another year just because we know what we're getting with the player.
No, absolutely. And how about yourself, Ben? You've muted yourself, Ben. Standard technical fare.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think Baudry's been playing his last 6 games as if it was his last, which has probably helped with his performances, with his confidence, and he's just gone for it. I think he's earned the right to decide himself, which we've given him what he wants to do with his future. If he does, then I think he would be sort of a bit part player. I think he'll do well coaching the young players on the, in the dressing room with Minturn, talking him through. He'll be useful in the cup games and the Pizza Paint Trophy and in the league games if required, but not as a first team regular. I think Swindon could do with 3 extra defenders, not 2. And someone with pace would be good as well, because that's what we've lacked this season, as well as just someone that can be imposing in both penalty boxes, which is something we've also missed. So something that needs addressing, which neither Conroy or Baudry did, and to some extent nor O'Brien for his size as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that Conroy's gone either, in my opinion.
Well, at the end of this episode, we're going to briefly have a look at some potential transfer targets to get some opinions. We know that the guy that Ned's been champion all year's already moved to pastures new, so he won't be coming. But yourself and Mark have both mentioned Conroy. It would be remiss of us not to sort of allow a chunk of time for everyone to speak about the departing captain, who rumours have been rife for some time. He is probably Leyton Orient bound. I think most people are anticipating. Let's kind of go reverse order this time. So we'll stick with you, Ben. The overriding emotions, Conroy leaving?
Oh, he's been a great servant to the club over 100 games. He's come through the other side of 2 horrific injuries that could have been career ending. I think some of the stick he's received in his time was unfair. He got John Sheridan as well. So it's
Is that your highlight of his time, his goal against?
No, I was just summing up his career. The highlight was his time under Wellings before his injury. I think this is probably why that is queued up to for him to go back there, because I think he was playing his best football then. That end of the season that he joined, and the start of the following season, the championship season, I thought he was probably one of the best defenders in the league and considered a good League One defender at the time. So I'm hoping that if he does go to Wellens, he thrives and does really well. I wish him nothing but the very best, because his time, he's certainly been under a sort of a roller coaster ride at Swindon, and he's come out of it smelling good, because he's come out in good form, and I'm really pleased he scored that penalty as well. So his last touch was a goal.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing can really add to what Ben was saying there really is that, you know, again, he's leaving with his head held high. I mean, obviously he suffered 2 relegations with us as well as the promotions. You know, his 5 years with the club has been, you know, quite literally a roller coaster. I think after, you know, generally speaking, after the performances that he's, you know, put in this year as part of a playoff achieving squad, you can arguably say that, you know, all good things do come to an end, and, you know, he's leaving with, I would say, the majority of the fan base back on side with his performances, and, you know, we can look back fondly on the time that Conroy was with us, rather than, you know, that player in the, you know, the earlier stage of the season, similar to Baudry, who took, you know, unjustly a huge amount of stick, when it was the team, you know, at that moment in time that wasn't performing, and not the individuals. So yeah, I think, you know, his time has come. You know, nothing but respect for the guy. You know, anyone that can, you know, pull themselves back from, you know, quite rightly as Ben alluded to, those 2 injuries, to still, you know, maintain a standard which is good enough for a professional career, nothing short of phenomenal.
No, I pretty much wholeheartedly agree with how you've summed it up there, Mark. Anything you'd like to add, Warren?
I agree with the chaps, what they say. Conroy's always been it's a difficult one, footballing wise. You've always looked at him as this ball playing centre half, and I think a lot of people get frustrated with the way that he plays the football. That all these Hollywood passes and stuff like that from centre half that never, you know what I mean, pull off. And I think this is where a lot of the frustration comes from with Conroy, and also the leadership side of not seeing. I couldn't see how he was a skipper for me. You know what I mean, in that sense that I couldn't see the leadership on the pitch. And I know we went on about the Sheridan era and he didn't get on with Sheridan, but we needed some players to roll their sleeves up. And if you didn't like the manager or not, and that's where you need the captain to lead by example. And I just didn't see enough of that from him. On the positive side of Conroy, though, I think he showed a lot of loyalty to the club in the summer, sticking by us when we had barely any players on the pitch, you know, or even training when Milden Hall taking the training, he stuck by the club. I just think it's run its course for him, and I think he just needed a fresh challenge. And from what I've been hearing, I think it's Conroy who said he wanted to go. It's not the club that's offered him, not said, no, we're releasing you. I think Conroy said, look, it's run its course and I would like a fresh challenge. And I think, yeah, fair play to him. I think it's worked well for the club as well, because I think you never know with these sort of injuries that he's picked up. We could send him off, he could go to Orient, and it could happen to him again. Hopefully it doesn't for his sake. But it's another big wage off the books that you'd imagine he was on a fair few quid being our skipper. He's off the books, and it's opened some more up for something else.
And it's certainly, I agree with the point you make there about, obviously this season just finishing was the first of the Clem era, but this coming up season is really the transition period, as we keep saying, with more flexibility in the market. So if we're starting to, you know, a few more sort of spaces in the squad appearing as players go out the door, it allows for this new era to come through at the county ground. I also like how when we started just over a year ago, you know, we were all speculating and kind of making up rumours. Now 1 in 2 of the panellists has suddenly become an in the know account. You know, what I'm hearing from sources within the club and people I've heard and blah, blah, blah. Everyone seems to know somebody all of a sudden. It's quality. Keep up the good work, guys. We'll get a Sky Sports ticker next season and just keep the rumours flooding through. Craig, where do you stand on Conroy?
Yeah, I mean, I have to disagree with Ben when it comes to like the high point with Conroy. I think for him, his high point was getting through a whole season without having a serious injury and playing as many games as he did. I'm chuffed to bits for him. I've always rated him. I think he's been a solid 7 out of 10 for us this season. I think, I was disappointed when I saw that he'd been released, but by the sounds of it, like Warren was saying, it's more him than the club. But I think Welland's style of football, if he does go to Orient, it suits him better rather than the playing out from the back that Garner likes to play. But yeah, he's been great for the club, and I just wish him the best. When it comes to the captaincy thing, I think we can sometimes overplay that a bit. Don't get me wrong, I love nothing better than an old style Sean Taylor type captain shouting and showing leadership.
Not the modern way though, is it?
No, so it's just about leading by example, how he plays. Apparently he's very professional at the way he conducts himself. And we were saying about how he was when he got headbutted by the Port Vale manager. If it had been any other player, they'd have reacted and probably tried to chin him one, whereas he picked on the wrong one in Conroy, who just, he knew what that manager was trying to do. He was trying to get a reaction so that we'd end up having a red card. So yeah, and you look, we've had Rob Hunt as captain this season. He's not exactly he doesn't strike me as that type of person. But yeah, it's a loss because it's another position we've got to fill at centre back, which is, as I've said in the WhatsApp group, it's such a crucial role. But if he wants to go, what can we do to keep him? So yeah, fair play. I wish him all the best.
And John?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, obviously a good servant to the club, 5 seasons, and but I think he's replaceable. Obviously, contracts and money talks. So maybe if somebody like, if we can get, I don't know, if Cooper's available or available on loan again, he may be a decent replacement. I'm not sure. Yeah, obviously the League Two, when we won the league that year, obviously as captain, it's great to take away. But like we said, like the other lads said, like he's been relegated twice with us. So yeah, good servant, good captain, but I think he's replaceable.
Okay, and what about you, Ned?
Wrong one. Hello. I completely agree with Warren with regards to captaincy. As I said a few moments ago, I think the biggest mistake was making him captain, because not only you judging him on how he defends, but you're also judging on how he captains the team. And I think that was the biggest mistake, because everyone jumps on the anti-Conroy bandwagon so many times this season. But yeah, fair play to he's, in my eyes, he definitely played himself into a new contract. I just wouldn't have him as captain next year. But yeah, as John says, he's replaceable. But wish him all the best, because he's a nice guy. He's loyal, and I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job at Leyton Orient or wherever else he decides to go to.
We received a question when we announced we were doing a bonus episode based on the retained list. And what chance do the panel think we realistically have of re-signing Payne and Egbo? Now, it's interesting, to be fair, that question. I think that realistically we could have both. If I was to put anything on it myself, if I was to put my reputation on it, I think Egbo will stay. I honestly do. I think Payne may look to go higher up the ladder. I think had we have gone up, he would definitely stay. But I think he'll be looking League One / Championship if an offer was to come in. But let's go round and see what you guys think. I'll mix up the order slightly this time. So Craig, Egbo and Payne, can we realistically look at having them both in the squad next year?
I I think Egbo, yes, he's really brought into the whole ethos of the team and the camaraderie and team spirit. You can see that he was wearing the old style, the bucket hat, the old style Swindon hat that Clem Morfuni was wearing before the season started. So I think he will sign. He's not going to be on a fortune, and he made such a hell of a difference. You know, we said about Harry McCurdy coming back and what a difference that was to our playoff push. But I think starting him in the games and the impact he made on that right hand side can't be can't be overstated. When it comes to Payne, he should be playing in a higher league, definitely. He's too good for League Two. Apparently, he is our highest earner, and I think in a way, I've mentioned this before in other pods, I think we could get good value from releasing the money that we pay Payne, and we could get two good players instead. We've been short squad-wise this season. First 11, no problem at all. We've got a quality first 11, but I think with Payne going, that gives us more options to bring in a couple of players in. We've got quality there in midfield, good attacking, skillful, technical players like Johnny Williams and McCurdy, and with Payne going, yeah, it's he's a huge player for League Two, but in a way for me, I think that it's not the end of the world if he goes.
Okay, John, where do you stand on the two of them?
Egbo, I think we've got a very good chance. Obviously, we gave him his chance to get fit and be available once he got his work permit to play. Does he owe the club anything? Maybe not, but he might owe Garner a season, and then he might get a decent move if we go up or we're around the playoffs again. I think he's got a love for the club already in the last 3 months or so. And there's no reason why I don't think he would stay. Would there be other clubs coming in for him? I guess they've not really seen a lot of him apart from the last 4 games. And then obviously he can only play 60 minutes until the second leg at Vale anyway. So he obviously got a lot of confidence at the moment, because I did notice at the Vale game, I'm sure he had gold boots on. So hopefully he takes that into next season. But yeah, I think Egbo, yeah. You probably offer him 2, I guess, and he may stay a season. Hopefully get a good season out of him. And on Payne, I think we might be struggling to keep hold of him. I've heard he's been offered less than his contract at the minute. And from Twitter today, I had a few messages saying that Lincoln still pay half his wages. I don't know how much truth there is in that. But I think we're struggling with Payne.
I agree. I think Payne is definitely going to be the more difficult one to complete, the more unlikely. Ned, where do you stand on the duo?
I mean, obviously, if we could sign them both up for the next season, my God, we're going to have an awesome squad. But I don't know. It's difficult, really, because certainly with Egbo, John just mentioned there about it's only sort of 6 or so games that other teams can view of him. But if you've got a scout who's worth their salt, they're gonna have seen him play, aren't they? They're gonna notice the difference that he's made to our team. And yeah, no contract, freebie. I mean, it's going to be. He's a great person to pick up for a League One team, isn't he? Or possibly a Dutch team or something like that, because he was looking to go across into Europe, wasn't he? So I mean, I don't know what the. I hope so. I really hope so.
Nice filling us with confidence that it's going to happen there. Cheers.
Everything's going so nicely so far, isn't it?
Negative.
So,
You're very negative again.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, hopefully both. But I mean, Jack, I don't know. How old's Jack Payne now? Is he about 26 or 27, something like that?
It's got to be
late 20s, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, which bigger team's going to take a punt on him? Is he going to get up to League One?
Easily.
Is it worth? Is it? I don't think he'll get to the Championship, but is it worth him up sticking to a League One team miles away? I don't know. But it was just mentioned there about being offered less money. Obviously, that's a massive turn off, isn't it? So I don't know.
Well, before Ned really...
I was feeling positive until just a few moments ago.
Come on, Ned.
John was talking
Ned's
about
managed
all
to
the money
talk
and stuff.
himself out of this. So let's go to someone who will more likely fill us with positive vibes. Mark, where do you stand on the duo?
Yeah, I think with regards to Egbo, I think that's probably the biggest no-brainer out of the players that have been offered contracts. I'll come back to Jack Payne in a moment, but yeah, Manny Egbo, has he done enough to impress elsewhere? I think the proverbial nail on the head is he probably hasn't played enough games for anyone yet to have taken sufficient notice. I think based on his social media feeds the last few days, it would seem more positive than not that he will likely be here for next season. And to me, it will be a massive signing. He's been a joy to watch. On his little escapades up the side of the pitch. Obviously, his close range passing could probably do with a little bit less power. But that aside, I think he will be a massive acquisition for us next season if we're able to convince him to stay. With regards to Jack Payne, I mean, normally when one of your best players' contracts come to an end and you get that sinking feeling that somebody's likely to take him to a higher division off the basis of not getting promoted, with us, you kind of feel maybe a little bit downhearted. But to be honest, I think I've got nothing but respect for Payne for staying with us last season, for staying with us after the abhorrent relegation season and everything that followed. And he's earned the right to to play at a higher division. If he stays in League Two, it will be because he has a huge affinity with the club and nothing else. I don't know what the rumours are with regard to wages and salary and who's maybe leaking that information into the public domain, or whether there's even truth, or whether it's just people putting 2 and 2 together and making 5. But I can't honestly see Payne being here next season. I think he is quite easily a League One footballer, and maybe even a bottom half of the table Championship player with some of the teams there if he's played in the right way. But
well, let's be honest. I mean, you can say it about teams at every level, comparatively speaking to those they're against. But I honestly think there is some dross teams in the Championship.
Yes, yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us that we'll miss is his experience. I mean, he's already played more than 300 first-class games, in professional football, and I think he is probably the most experienced, with the exception of Baudry, in the team. And obviously, that experience does count for a lot. So, whilst I don't feel that we couldn't replace his position with a player that could do a similar job, or maybe even a better job, that's no discredit to Jack, but different players coming in may have that different effect. But then you look at those that we've got there. So with McCurdy on the right and Williams on the left, Aguiar, Reed, Yandolo, Gladwin. I mean, the middle of the field is already looking fairly safe from a contracted point of view, and it's just if he were to go, would we go for a permanent position or would we go for a loan player? I don't know, but yeah,
loans only stretch so far. You only get so many.
Yeah, exactly. And we've done well with the loan players that we've had. So would I be adverse to a loan player coming in that position? Well, we had Louis Barry this season, so what's to say that Chorley couldn't pull a rabbit out of the hat for that position? So yes, I would be sad if he did leave, and I think I'm more inclined to believe that he probably will. But am I disappointed? No, not at all. I mean, he could have gone last year after being dropped. He had a clause in his contract that allowed him to leave, but he stayed with us. So that alone earns him that right if he decides now's the time for him to go.
And how about yourself, Ben? Are you any more confident than the rest of us that Payne might stay?
Do Do you know what? I'm not really. I think he'll be the one that does go. We can't match or greater the wages that he's on at the minute, and I think he's shown his bit of loyalty staying with us last summer. I think he's getting to an age now where his next move is going to be quite a big one for him, because he is approaching his late 20s, and it's not that long before he goes a little bit, seen as a little bit over the hill. And he goes with my blessing. If that is the case, I'd love him to stay. And if he does stay, you might as well have him signed up to the end of his career and put a statue of him at the end of the Carrot Ground, because what a worldy signing that would be. But yeah, he's such a good player, and he's done his stint. He's had his time. We can't match the wages that he deserves. And if he goes to anyone else, I wish him all the best. As long as it's not back to them at the A420, it's fine by me.
And last but certainly not least, Philip, tell us, both of them will sign within the week and there'll be no problems.
Maybe not within the week, but no, I'm a bit more positive about Payne than the rest. Like Mark said, I think if he wanted to go, he could have gone last year. I think he's probably looked at it like the club whole looked at it this season, maybe thought this is the season where we were going to rebuild, and he knows this coming season may be the one where we've got a bit more money behind us. We're gonna have a go. It's one of those that I think you've got to suit the style of football for Payne, and I think he's one of those that likes getting on the ball, playing the right style of football, and I think that's what he needs. So it's whether they can find a club that's going to do that. But I'm a little bit more confident. I think that the club might draw him in for one more season and say, look, give us that chance to get us into League One. And like Ben said, if we get that chance, I think he'll probably, if we get promoted next season, he could be with us for a long period.
No, absolutely. Gents, I just want to take a little sidestep, if I may. Obviously, we're at the point already where who's joining, who's leaving is the discussion. And a tweet has gone out, which, if true, and it has to be said, there's no actual evidence that it is true, but if true, it would certainly alter the trajectory of our summer. And it's a tweet that's gone out by Richard Corley, who is a journalist, and he has tweeted, believe Ben Garner's move to Charlton has actually been agreed tonight, subject to any last minute hitches, set to be unveiled as the new manager.
Wow.
So we've been talking about players. Did anyone foresee a situation where Garner wasn't here next year?
No. I thought he was
Not at all.
long term. Must have been compensation with that.
I personally didn't think he'd be good enough to get a move into League One, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to put down the job he's done this season, fostering the team spirit. I think that's largely down to him, that, the togetherness of the squad and all. But I really felt he should have done better with the players we had this season. So for Charlton to get him and we get compensation, after my initial thoughts, if it does go through, it's disruptive, isn't it? That's the problem. I'm sort of it. I'm in two minds on. I feel it's disruptive. I feel he's shithoused us a little bit as well. The first 100%. Sort of semi decent season he's had, and that's it. He's gone. And
let's just remember, this is purely at time of talking. This is purely speculation. There's no evidence. Let's not just start slating.
Fifey, this is all over. I've just gone on to the news Charlton side. This is on there as well. This is they've got
Richard Cowley. Who is Richard Cowley? Is he like a news reporter?
Journalist.
This is on a tweet.
I think he does a lot of Fulham space stuff.
This is on these newspaper sites, and I know it's not all set to believe, but they're saying that the compensation's done, that he's taken his backroom team with him, and they're all on their way.
I think if he does go, once we've got over the initial shock, remember, we've got a system in place. We've got a director of football. We've got a good backroom staff. I don't think he'll be taking much of his backroom staff. Maybe the other, what's his name? Marshall, is it?
Marshall and Lindsay are going.
Those will go. But everything else we've got in place. So it's not going to, I don't think it'll be too bad, depending on who we get in to replace him. And like I said, I think he should have done better last season. And if we get compensation out of it.
Okay. I'll let anyone else who wants to jump in on Garner specifically jump in a second, but let me throw a situation at you now. He joins Charlton and his first signing is Jack Payne.
It's Johnny Williams. He'll be a first signing.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
It'll be Johnny Williams.
It'll be Johnny Williams.
The other Palace lads he's got lined up.
He'd have to pay for him as well, though.
You'd have to pay for Williams.
Yeah, well, this is clever from the club, isn't it? Clem and Chorley have sat there rubbing their hands together. So, like Craig said, I agree. I don't think it's if he goes. I agree. I think he should have done a lot better. I think we should have been automatic with the players that we had.
Anyone else want to jump in on the Garner debate before we move?
Yeah,
on?
I will just say on that point. I mean, let's bear in mind that our goal difference was good enough with 3 more points to have taken 3rd place. So, bearing in mind how tight it was at the top of the division in the grand scheme of things, I think we know there were a couple of results where we could have done better. But I'm not going to, tramp on the season that Ben Garner's led, because he's done phenomenally well. Turned my opinion around of him when I thought he was just a one-trick pony, and came up with a plan B that worked and got us into the playoffs with a little bit more direct style of football. So from that point of view, if he does go, then there are plenty of other managers out there. I think it's going to be one of the biggest free transfer markets in living history this season or this summer. So let's see what happens. I mean, it's almost as exciting as it was when things started to fall into place last year. But I guess the whole thing is if Garner Ball goes, or is Garner Ball going to stay under a new manager as a result of what Chorley wants to implement on the pitch? Is that's the big thing for me. If the setup is now that we play this style of football, regardless of who the head coach is, it doesn't really matter who the head coach is.
Okay. John, is there anything you want to throw into the mix on Garner's possible departure?
Yeah, obviously surprised that he's departed, or sounds like he is departing. But now you've got to start thinking about, you've got to find somebody that can manage McCurdy. You also got to be worried about all his little Palace clique he's got that Gardner had with obviously Johnny Williams. Yeah, I ain't got much words to say really at the minute. I'm trying to process it all, but yeah, that does throw a bit of a spanner in the works.
So
move on. See what someone else got to say. Yeah.
Let me throw it out there briefly, but and then we can get back on topic. We're literally reacting to news as it's coming. I'm doing my best Jim White here. I'll get the phone out.
This is great for the pod, Fifey. This is great. This is brilliant.
Is there any names instantly jumping to mind as to who would replace him?
Luke Garrard.
That's who I was going to say.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of speculation. I think you might go for another coach type if he wants to go for another long-term model. I wouldn't mind pinching Richie Wellens back myself.
There is not a chance. So he's going to sign Conroy to Orient and then jump ship and come back to Swindon.
Well,
Clever from Wellens.
He's not
get rid of a
signed
liability
Orient
defender
yet.
And then get him back.
But one thing I will say, I am really concerned about Wellens and what he'll do. Not Wellens, sorry, I'm talking about Garner. If he does go, he will try and talk McCurdy into coming to joining him, and McCurdy works, and Charlton are based in London. Chelsea's only up, a tube journey away. And who else might he take with him? Because we've got a few good players here. It may be a case of all changing again. So it's Egbo.
I can't see a mass exodus to Charlton.
I can see a few going. Williams, McCurdy, Egbo.
Not all of them,
Reed.
maybe one.
No.
They won't all go.
Reed.
No.
I exchanged for DJ.
Charlton are a bigger club, but they're not going to be spending 6-figure sums for multiple players, which is what they'll have to do for at the very least for McCurdy and Williams for us. So
Reed as well. Reed and Williams are all under contract.
Reed.
Yeah, maybe McCurdy, because like you said, Garner's the only manager who seems to have got the best out of him. If any of those ones you mentioned, Ben, I'd say maybe McCurdy, but yeah, it's
a shame. summer's been derailed again for the second time.
Unbelievable.
This episode's been derailed by a rumour.
Totally. But if
And
it's
I'm
true,
not
it
being-
really is a huge span. The season starts in 2 months' time.
Well, God,
one-
with
the
all
one-
due
the one-
respect, with all respect intended, Ben, your response to this rumor in the last 5 minutes, you by any chance did you get a high grade at GCSE drama? Because fucking hell,
All right.
ridiculous scenes.
All
Boys,
right.
bringing it back
No,
though.
It's
We've got-
concern though, because you don't want to be losing. Garner, I really took taking the shine to Garner. There's a few Garner outs out there would be over the moon, but
Oh yeah.
it's just I'm deflated by the news of it. I'm deflated because I think we really needed continuity. We've not had that, and again, we don't know what the new manager is. We don't know how they're going to react with the players. We knew that Reed and McCurdy worked so well under Garner, and he had such a reputation for bringing young players on. You know, we were going to get really good chance of getting good, high quality youth players because of the reputation that Garner had done with players like Kane Kessler and all that. And
let's not get carried away, Ben. Let's not suggest that he was some sort of miracle worker that was going to make all this stuff happen. There are more than capable people of doing exactly the same job.
And I wouldn't.
I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed because I think the club needs settled. It needs settled. It needs continuity. It just needs a couple of seasons without heavy drama behind the scenes. And here we go again.
Well, again, I point out that we couldn't go an hour without heavy drama. You've full on thrown all your toys out the pram.
I personally wouldn't be panicking. If he goes, there's club's
plenty
there,
of time.
with the owner's there, Clem will be there, Chorley will be in there, and they'll go through it again. They've got no problem. They're going to get a good compensation package, 100%. We might have a chance to draw. Yeah, we might have a chance to draw someone away from a club that we might like the look of. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely wouldn't be panicking. I think Clem and that they must have an idea of something like this might have happened. They might have someone in mind. If this was under Power, it would be doomsday, wouldn't it? But under someone like Clem and Chorley, give them their chance to sort it through, and they will.
I have to say, while you've been talking, I've just refreshed the Fools Rush In Twitter feed, and it's not just Ben that's completely lost his head. Like everyone is full on losing their head on Twitter. You guys wait till this is finished recording. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I haven't seen it yet, but I can imagine.
Some of it's hilarious. I mean, one of the posts, I know it said sarcastically, but when the fan base are a little bit enamoured or with a little bit of news like this, I think it's out of context Swindon that says that has posted that that Clem's agreed to sell the club to Egbo. Now, and that's obviously clearly sarcasm, but that is like a grade comedy right there. And obviously there are people that are biting on that as well. It's just like, Rick, come on now, come on.
Power's back.
Let's move on. With regards to the rest of the retained list, let's just have a very Charlton. They're all good. So
you and Charlton all in.
So in terms of the players released, I think it's fair to say that there wasn't really any fans of Mitchell Lawson within the pod, so no one's going to be that disappointed. You know, again, we'll wish him well because no one wishes anyone badly. Wish him very well in his future endeavours, but it probably suits us that he's not with us. Idem will go down as a club legend because I think he made one appearance, conceded about 25 goals in a reserve game, and then never got seen again. So no great loss, especially as we've got currently one, potentially two fantastic goalkeepers. Ryan East is another one of those players who would have continued to be a good squad player, but he probably has aspirations of playing regularly elsewhere. I'm sure he won't have an issue finding the club personally. And then we've taken the option on Baudry as well, who I think's had a decent loan spell at the end of he did well out on loan. The last few games of the season, so it'd be interesting to see how he looks coming back. In terms of anyone else, that is there anyone? So we've spoken about Baudry, we've spoken about Egbo, Parsons, Odemeo. We've briefly mentioned Woolacott, Hunt as well. Do we expect 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those to actually sign the deal? I think Parsons will, personally, and I think there's a potential loan move somewhere for him to go and develop the way that Twine did. Hopefully, at least. Odemeo, I know Rich isn't necessarily a fan, but I think he's earned the right to be offered a contract. Personally, anyone disagree?
No.
He can play in that centre back role, can't he? So he can play in.
There is at the minute.
He can play in 3. If Garner, well, I was about to say if Garner decides to go back to 3 at the back, then
Whoever the manager is.
Whoever the manager is, so he's an extra body that could fill in at centre back. So, but I think the only ones out of those that are offered contracts it'd be Odemeo, Egbo, and Parsons. I think the rest of them will all go.
Yeah. Mark did a very creative little image for us earlier. I wonder if he's now frantically changing it for players he expects not to be with us anymore.
No. Again, it's all up in the air until it's bolted down, as we're rapidly finding out. But yeah, in terms of the spine of the side, I mean, the contracted players. If we keep the contracted players, it's a good start, a solid base to build from, and it doesn't fill me with any fear. As a result of not going up, we were always going to lose players. I think we just have to accept that. That's the case with any club that has a successful season that doesn't quite get over the line. Teams get broken up, players get sold. It will happen forevermore. I guess for me, the left back position is the one that, and not just the left back and the main striker positions are the ones that are concerning me the most at the moment. Because if you consider that we have Parsons, who's made 11 first team appearances, regardless of the league, and Calmeda, who's made 1, and neither of them have scored, doesn't really fill me with a huge amount of confidence. No disrespect, they're youngsters at the very start of their careers, but we've got to go big. If we want to get promoted, you've got to go big in those positions. We can't just take a punt. It has to be, at least 1 proven striker and then maybe 2 up and coming ones. That are on the fringes of loan. So I know that the attacking positions are always a lot more expensive to fill. And then the left back position, again, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. That could quite easily be a loan plus, a youngster. Is Hunty replaceable? 100%. I think the reality is we don't know how severe his injury is, or whether his head's been turned to go and play elsewhere. So.
Like Charlton.
Is he? Yeah, exactly. or Leighton Orient. Who knows? But
the whole squad heading down to London.
Quite possibly. I mean, they'll be at Chelsea, won't they, for too much longer? But no. There's probably going to be a nice churn of players like there was last year. I mean, but we've got a good base to work from, and don't forget that if we're looking to build upon, not just making up the numbers, but having depth, there will still be a lot more signings than maybe you would anticipate for just filling 1 or 2 holes, because we need to build the squad out. I think we're probably going to need someone like between 23 and 25 players in depth if we want to make sure that we can get through the season. In reality, I don't know whether we'll be able to afford that many. This season we did all right without, if they're managed correctly. So who knows? It's exciting times. I refuse to be downbeat about it, because this scenario, safe for what's going on with Garner, is fairly inevitable. It happens every year. We shouldn't be surprised, should we? Really?
Let's try something a bit more positive to calm Ben down, and hopefully for those who are watching this on YouTube, this will come through okay. If not, then it's going to be great for the audio listeners and not the viewers. I've looked at a couple, and this is the best version I've found of the constantly updating EFL retained lists. And what I want to do, and it can be a bit of a free-for-all, I don't mind that. So jump in when you see someone, is we'll just sort of scroll through the clubs who have announced their retained lists, and you let me know. I know Ned has definitely got a Ned report ready. He's showing it to the screen. Of certain names that jump out. So we start, there'll be an alphabetical order. We start with Blackburn. Is there anyone here you think would be good and an actual possible signing at SN1? Anyone jumping out?
That
Joe
Diaz is a
Rothwell.
good player.
Is that sorry?
That Diaz is a good player.
Okay, let's see if we can. Let's see if Blackpool offer anything a bit more appealing for you.
It's going to take a long time, I think.
The silence says no. I'll keep scrolling till you find someone. How about Bristol City? Can we see anyone crossing the divide there?
I think what we need to look at is all the local teams, because you've got to think about it. Like, the likeliness of us signing someone from Bristol City, Reading, Oxford is much more likely than us signing someone from Doncaster or, you know, someone far up north. So, I mean, there might be, you know, I don't recognise half those names for Bristol City. I mean, Callum O'Dowd, you know, most people have heard of, but, you know, there might be a few diamonds among that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
Marlon
We got
Pack's a
Cardiff
good one.
City. We got Cardiff City on the screen as well. Marlon Pack, Alex Smithies. Can you see him
Marlon
dropping
Pack,
into
solid
League Two?
option.
A few times, hasn't he, out of town?
Could you see
Yeah,
him
that's
dropping
right.
into League Two though?
How old is
No.
he now? He's got to be 32, 33, isn't he? I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Carry on scrolling down.
Oh,
we get to-
Bamba, he must be about
Sol
40.
Bamba, there's a player.
We'll get to Coventry City. You can see Jody Jones is obviously an established name as well. Depends on what you're looking for, whether it's the youth or the experience. I mean, Tom Huddleston, obviously.
Tom
released
Eaves.
by Hull.
Tom Eaves would be a massive shout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
sorry, Ned. I agree. He was brilliant for me on Football Manager.
He's fantastic. He's really good in the air. He's League One at very minimum, but with Ben Chorley at the helm, anything's possible, isn't it? So I don't think we can rule out a huge
I
amount.
think realistically, Championship sides released, I think we're struggling just to compete with the wages, to be honest with you. I just think it's going to be too much.
You say that, but again, Johnny Williams.
Exactly, that's my point. Tom Barkhusen, I've always really liked
Fair
him.
point.
We'll keep scrolling down. Obviously, I think Charlie Austin, because we haven't been promoted, we've already said I don't think it will happen now, unfortunately.
No.
Player manager.
Yeah, good shout.
Actually, that is not a bad shout.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
not
that's
a bad
cracking shout. Was a
Imagine it, that'd be
Should we
amazing.
Already signed. I reckon they've done it deliberately.
Done deal.
Should we tweet it
what
out
is
tonight?
exclusive?
Fear not,
That's
Charlie
it.
Austin,
That's
player
done.
manager.
use that for the title of the episode 5. We'll get thousands of views,
Of
mate.
views.
Yeah.
Alan Halilovic whilst we're there. Unbelievable.
Well, you
No,
did. I was going
unbelievable.
to say you did ask to see Readings.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I'd love for us to get someone like him. My God.
But even John Swift, I know he's in talks with them, but even getting John Swift back.
Yeah, John Swift, very good player.
Will Griggs
Will
loans
Grigg.
expired.
James Chester.
Tom Ince. I mean, we're obviously not signing Tom Ince. There's
he'll
no
be-
suggestion
no.
for signing Tom Ince.
Tom Ince will go to Reading because his dad's there.
Of course. Swansea, that's localish enough, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely localish.
Yeah.
Corey Smith? Ben Hamer?
Yeah, it's good enough. Too old.
Got a lot of players under contract, haven't they?
They have.
Ben
Andy
Foster?
Carroll.
Andy Carroll.
Him
Let's
and
do-
Charlie up top.
That dream could come true a year after I started that rumour.
Yeah.
Let's drop into League One then.
Here we go then.
Accrington Stanley. Bit too
Who
far
are they?
north for you?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Who are they?
Barnsley. Any names springing up at Barnsley of interest? Take the silence.
Bouncy Cole.
Bolton. Nathan Delfonso?
No.
No.
No,
No,
No.
absolutely not.
there's
Bristol
one
Rovers.
one ex-Villa player we don't want to see again.
It's a
Pittman?
shame to see that Brett Pittman's been released, as has Leon Clark.
Shock.
Quite on our pitch, don't you know?
Anyone fancy signing Leon Clark or Brett Pittman for next year?
No.
No. Guys, you're not really signing anybody. I'm giving
we
you
don't.
an open
No.
checkbook for these released players.
I've got a list here, Fifey. Do you want me to read through them?
Yeah,
Go
go
on.
for the
I
list.
bet
Robbie.
Umar Nias is on there.
Is what's his name on there? What's his name? Jerome Sinclair.
So I thought the best thing to do would be just to, when you see a name, write it down. Don't think about it too much. So the names I wrote down, defenders, I got Sid Nelson from Northampton, Che Dunkley from Sheffield Wednesday, Michael Hector from Fulham. Those are the three defenders which I like the look of. And then midfielders, Callum Cook from Bradford, of course. Tom Carroll.
We spoke about Carroll before.
Yep, absolutely. And Alan Halilovic.
You just like saying his name.
Oh yes,
Halilovic.
quality. And then forwards, I've got Danny Rose.
He's gone to Stevenage, Danny Rose.
Oh, for fuck's sake, they got everyone. They signed up so many players like the first day.
Today.
Unbelievable. So that, yeah, strike that one off the list. Freddie Ladapo, Norwood, Tom Eves. Well, I've got Timmy Abraham from Fulham as well. And I put down Romilly Sawyers as well from West Brom.
Maurice Simpson.
But goalkeeper, Will Jaskalainen from Crewe. As a backup, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? I don't think he would expect too much in wages.
Connor Wickham. I think there's certainly some interesting and obtainable names on that list there, Ned, to be honest.
Definitely.
And I think if we were to sign half of those even, then that would be one hell of a foundation.
I mean, Che Dunkley, I mean, he's 30 years old now, but he's an experienced head. He's been around a long time. He's played at high level.
Dunkley.
I don't think so.
I've got someone else.
No, he played for Wigan, and then a few others, but no, it wasn't. I think that's a different Dunkley. But yeah, I mean, he's been around a long time. He's a defender who gets a lot of goals with his head. I would really rate getting him. I think he's I think he would be fantastic, Che Dunkley. That's one of the top ones on my list. But Sid Nelson, we've all seen Sid Nelson before, haven't we?
We have.
I'm not sure if everyone's got the same affinity.
He's got the attributes still that a lot of you keep saying that is what you want in at least one of the centre backs. You know, if you've got Sid Nelson next to someone else, then he's a perfectly good player, particularly in League Two. This is what we have to remember. I mean, we've just looked through the Championship and League One retain list, and I switched the screen share off for League Two because we've got higher aspirations than that. But we've got to remember we're going into a League Two season.
Absolutely. I mean, he played for us in League One, didn't he? And he looked brilliant for us in League One, didn't he? It was League One, wasn't it?
Is it Nelson?
No,
Yeah.
I think it was League Two.
League Two. League Two. It was under
Flitcroft era, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Remember it fondly, Ned?
He did the right under Flitcroft ball, didn't he? Sid.
What do you think our chances are of getting, say, Tomlinson and Cooper back next season?
Tomlinson, no, because Fosh went
wouldn't it?
down.
Yeah.
Cooper, possibly.
But again, it depends on the manager and who we get and their philosophy and how they want to play football.
Yeah, I think our chances of getting Cooper now, it might be a bit in the air.
Does it though? Does it? Because isn't it more about Chorley than the manager?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Don't you think that Chorley's the one that goes? He'll bring in a manager between the two of them that will play the way that they want to play, and then Chorley will go, well, this will fit this hole, this will fit that hole, and
possibly, yeah.
But
I just
is Ben Chorley definitely confirmed not to be going with him?
No,
Very
I
much
wouldn't have
doubt
thought.
it.
I wouldn't have thought so. The director of football role is something that was put in place so that there would be some continuity regardless of whether the manager goes or not. But obviously they've developed a relationship over the course of the season now, haven't they? So
Yeah.
it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but I'd have thought that if Chorley goes, then it's just like, what the hell's going on? Because that all those, all the good foundations that were being put in place at the beginning of the season by Claire and Rob Angus seem to be just, going away if he does. But I don't think Ben Chorley will go.
Hope not.
I hope not. But yeah.
Well, it's certainly going to be living rent-free in Ben's head, and it's certainly going to cause a lot of discussion over the next couple of hours and potentially days until anything is or is not announced. So I think that's the perfect time to call it there. And thank you all very much for your time in discussing the retained lists, discussing Conroy, discussing Egbo. There was probably a lot more we could have even done, but the news of the potential departure has certainly caught the eye. So you never know, we might have to do another emergency stroke bonus pod at the end of the week with more breaking news.
When
So
Luke Garrett is
bonus pod.
this
when
might not be
Luke
the last
Garrett
you
is
see of
named-
us this week.
Everyone, just seeing this photo going around. Everyone, my friend.
Oh God.
Well, is that any different to this particular tweet that I've just seen go out, which I'll put on screen share?
Should have put hashtag STFC, mate. That would have got them bit. They'd have been biting then, I tell you.
But was Mark, Craig, Ned, John, and Ben, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thanks to everyone who watches and listens, as always. We really do appreciate it. Let us know what you think on who is staying, who isn't staying, and yeah, when you next see us next, we may or may not have a manager, but rest assured, we'll all still be here. Well, maybe most of us, one or two, maybe jumping ship to a Charlton pod. We'll wait and see. Until next time from Fools Rush In. Goodbye.